It's great to be here in the virtual room, but it's great to seeing all of you, some familiar faces, some people I don't know yet. Great meeting you this way. My name is Nicolette van Halem. I am, sorry, wait a second. I lost you guys.
You're still
Sorry,
here.
yeah, perfect. I have to move you around a little bit on my screen. You're at the perfect spot now. It doesn't really concern you guys, but here we go. Yeah, my name is Nicolette van Halem. I'm a PhD student at the Free University. I'm going to present to you a new approach that we designed in the context of a research practice partnership within the project that I'm working in. I have a lot to present to you because I want to share a little bit about the background of our research project. I want to share with you how this new method works and also the outcomes of the first application of this method. So I will keep it to the main points and the basic idea. But of course, I've written a paper about it, so I'm happy to answer all of your questions about all kinds of different aspects about this method. But my main purpose today is to share with you why this method is relevant and in what context it can be applied. So my background is in family and educational studies. I'm quite a newbie in this domain of educational governance. But since I was so interested in researching school innovations, I quickly ended up in the field of educational leadership. What was mentioned in the previous session on Teacher Tab, that teachers might even consider leaving a school when management is not great or the leadership is failing teachers. So I quickly discovered the major role of leaders in schools, and I shifted my attention of my research work to school leaders. I'm doing my work with a great team of colleagues from different fields that make it possible to do this kind of work. So quickly want to mention them too. This work takes place in California, Southern California. Normally I would be there right now because we are in the middle of sharing back data to the schools. Unfortunately, I'm not in the sunny area of LA. I'm in Rotterdam at the moment, but my colleague Alan Daly he is a professor at UCSD. He's working with us on this project, as well as Iwa Lu. She's in Taipei, in Taiwan. She and Alan together were the founders of this research practice partnership, which is quite new. And then here at the VU University, I'm working together with Chris and Ilya, who bring in a different perspective with their background as econometrics researchers. So it's a really fascinating and fun collaboration. So in this presentation, I will, as I said, touch upon three elements. So what is the background of this study? What is this method all about? And then when we apply this method, what kind of outcomes do we get? And what did we learn from it? So first, I want to say something general about our research practice partnership, because research practice partnerships aim to address problems of practice. Sorry, I'm missing one slide. I'm missing one slide on attention that I wanted to address, but I will just do it by heart. So this research practice partnerships aims to support a school district in their efforts towards improving instruction, innovating, and one tension that we stumbled upon is that in research, we are as researchers familiar with focusing on one outcome and thinking about ways in which we can improve that outcome. And in practice, school leaders and practitioners are trying to configure many different outcomes. So the school experience of a students is made up of several different domains. You need to have a safe school. You need to have high quality relationships and interactions in that school. You need a sense of belonging, but then there are also all kinds of indicators of high quality instruction that matter. So what we often forget about, and what a recent study of Nederman showed, is that of course, there's a lot of research in the successfulness of certain interventions and initiatives, but there's little attention for the decision-making process leading up to an intervention. So which domain to target in the first place is often based upon school leaders' intuition or common consensus in a school, but school leaders are not often finding or they're not often informed by research when they make the choice for which domain to target. And this is something that we noticed in our work because we try to address so many different domains of school quality in our work. And we also I will share a bit more about that later, but we wanted the schools to help making an informed decision on which domain to target in the first place. So I did not give you a definition of research practice partnerships. I'm not sure how familiar you are with this type of work, but the aim of research practice partnerships is to work together, partner up with researchers and practitioners, in this case, school leaders in California, to both support practice with research-based insights on improving education, but also getting information from the system, from practice, to make sure that insights are fed back into the system in a timely manner, but also to enable us to personalize instruments and to have room for solutions that are brought in from the side of the practitioners. And this is not only a very promising way of working, if you read the literature, for example, the articles of Coburn, Manuel and Schildkamp, but it's also a very fun way of working together with practice. We are working with these schools in California for 3 years now, or I am part of the project for 3 years now, and developing strong relationships with practitioners and improving our work together is a really fun process to be part of. So a little bit more about our research practice partnership. This school district that I'm talking about in the area of LA, they wanted to shift their attention from all the standardized metrics that they have in place to evaluate their schools to a broader audit of not only student performance, but also culture climate at their school. So people are familiar with financial audits, you maybe more than myself, but this school wanted to take that idea to another level by also having an audit for culture, climate, quality of relationships, and not only with a survey amongst school leaders, but also among students, parents, teachers, all their staff members, including people working in canteens and driving school buses. So literally everyone and their mother was included in this research and is included because we have a yearly survey and we aim to interview people from all these different groups as well on a yearly basis. I see that I freeze. I hope you can still follow along with the presentation. Okay. So it is very, very complete by including all of these groups of stakeholders, and it's innovative in the sense that we address many different areas around culture, climate, and relationships that schools might not always focus on or look at with data, but it also creates a problem, and that's the following. So when we share back this data, first of all, we made beautiful report, interactive. You can click on the graphs and manipulate them yourselves and look at the data from all the different groups, compare years. It was a really fancy report. And then we shared it back to the school leaders. And what we noticed, there was an immediate focus on which area has the lowest score. And that area became the complete center of attention. And we were thinking, that might not be the intention behind this project. We don't want them to have an A score in all of these domains. We want them to think about which domains in a complex system should you focus on to have to impact growth in all of the different domains? So what in our research, which areas are high impact areas, which are high leverage points for schools to improve? Because if you focus on the area with the lowest score, first of all, the lowest scores in this case weren't low, so there were still sufficient levels. And these areas might not be as impactful as other areas to focus on. And then a second thing, we were very hesitant to share correlations because you might be familiar with the difference between a correlation and a causal relationship. A correlation is when two things occur, like ice cream sales and shark attacks. But if you, for example, want to minimize shark attacks, targeting ice cream sales, which highly correlates, is not the way forward, because they both occur with a warm weather, but they're not causally related to each other. And when we shared these correlations, we felt it wasn't really fair and it wasn't really actionable for the school leaders to present these correlations. With these two problems in mind, we developed this new method. This method is this approach is a two-step approach. It actually consists of two different methods. The first step is to establish conditional mean independent correlations. And I don't know my audience at the moment very well. Maybe you think, oh, of course, conditional mean independent correlations. Maybe you think I see 3 or 4 words on the slide that I completely don't understand. I will get to a metaphor in a bit. But basically, this first bit is about generating correlations that are not driven by variance in other domains that we measured. Then the second step is to apply growth functions to those conditional mean independent correlations, because if you measured 10 domains, you have a large amount of correlations, and that is just a whole bunch of numbers that are not going to guide the way. So we designed growth functions to apply to derive rankings of high impact domains. Those growth functions are normative, meaning that not we as researchers determine which growth function to apply and how, but there's an explicit role for the practitioner, the school leader in this case, to make explicit what their priorities around growth are. So which domains do they want to see growth in, or which domains do they want to not see decrease to any further level. So these are examples of how those growth functions are really an opportunity for the practitioner to take part in the research, in the analysis, and participate in establishing these rankings of high impact domains. For everyone who is an econometrist, you probably know what I'm talking about, but if not, I have a metaphor here that might help you understand what this method is about. I don't know if you ever made a broth yourself. You probably have tasted one in the past. It consists of many different ingredients, and if it doesn't taste great yet, which ingredient should you add to improve the flavor of your broth? That's a very hard call, because all of those different flavors interact with each other. And if you're if you are a chef, you probably know what to do. But the method that we developed really aims to help the school leader find out which domain to target to improve the overall school experience of the students without knowing all about these interactions.
5 minutes, Nicolette.
5 minutes. So I will go to the application of the method. This is an overview of the data we collected, and I will focus on the student data, which has different domains, for example, safety. Several example items are presented on the slide, such as I do not worry about crime and violence at this school. We measured relationships, we measured trust. For example, my principal really cares about me. We measured all things related to instructions. And we have data, in the first year we had data from about 1,700 students. Here are the domains, the 9 domains that we included in the analysis from the student data. What is really important in this data is that this is a complete set of domains. If there's one important domain missing that's interrelated to these domains, then our results will not be valid. So we have several tests developed in this method to do a check. You can read that in the paper. I will not elaborate on that now, but that's really important, and it helps us as scientists to also validate our theories on educational quality. Then we generated the conditional mean independence, and this is a visual of those conditional mean independent correlations. But as I said before, it's basically a whole list of numbers, which in itself will not tell you what are the high impact domains. But you see the thick green lines represent high positive correlations, and you see, for example, that educator trust and belonging and safety and culture and climate are positively related to many domains. Same goes for student-led learning experiences and relevancy of schoolwork. But if we now apply the growth functions, and I will showcase one from a utilitarian kind of philosophy, which aims to maximize growth in all of those different domains, then we can establish a ranking. Here you see the ranking, and you see that the top lever to pull here to improve those student domains seems to be trust from the students in principals and teachers. What you also see in this graph is a ranking that was construed by the school leaders themselves. So what was their intuition of high impact domains? They would pull 6 other levers before they would focus on trust, which is quite a big difference from the outcomes of our method. I'm sorry, I have a dog, and because I'm sitting right here, he thinks I want to play with him. I'm not gonna do that in those next 2 minutes that I've left. So here you see that this is one of the growth functions, and we presented this to the school leaders. You see that their intuition is quite different from what the data says. Doesn't mean that you should go with the data immediately without critically thinking about it, but this conversation does help the school leaders to maybe broaden up their perspective and foster a dialogue about which domains to target with their innovation initiatives. So we'll go very quickly through these slides, because since we measured these domains with multiple item skills, those items also give them actionable leads in what do we mean, what is trust, how did we operationalize trust. So what are actionable leads to start thinking about how to target a domain such as trust? For example, ensuring that students know that all educators, no matter position, will always listen to their ideas and concerns. Go to the next slide. We measured trust the year after. This is trust amongst school leaders, and you can tell that trust has been a major focal area for them because they report higher levels of trust, at least amongst each other. So it's really interesting to follow up and to do this, to apply this method with them every year. I can put a link in the chat to a practitioner-oriented article that we have written about applying this method in this research practice partnership. And of course, I can send you the paper if you're interested in the inner workings of this method. And then I will I know my time's up now, so just really quickly go through my final conclusions. So where domains are interrelated, and it seems like that complicates the choice for which domain to target, we actually lever that interconnectedness to inform the choice for a particular outcome domain, even before you think about which initiatives to implement to improve students' school experiences. So here we see that trust is a major or a high impact domain. If you look at the data, that's interesting in itself, and it's in line with the literature. But I can already give you a sneak peek into the next year's data analysis. It reveals a slightly different domain. So that means that the outcomes of this method are personalized to the school and therefore also relevant for that specific context. And we are now trying to make this method build a dashboard, make it easier to apply, and yeah, hope to apply this method in many different contexts and help school leaders and other policymakers in other contexts to decide which domain to focus on. Thank you for your attention, and I'm really happy to hear about your questions and answer those.